I'm meteorologist Caitlin McGrath, and we are tracking the tropics. We have two storms of high interest on the map right now. Tropical Storm Idalia, which is continuing to strengthen, forecast to become a hurricane later today, and Hurricane Franklin, which as of the 5 o'clock advisory this morning became the first major hurricane of the Atlantic season, up to a Category 3 hurricane. But let's start with Idalia, because a lot of interest as this storm takes aim at Florida. Right now, working its way through the Yucatan Peninsula, expected to become a Category 1 hurricane by later this afternoon. And once it moves into the Gulf of Mexico over really warm water, there's really nothing to limit that development. Forecast to become a Category 2 hurricane by Tuesday afternoon, eventually a Category 3 hurricane as it makes landfall over the Florida Gulf Coast early Wednesday morning. But areas along the Gulf Coast can expect those tropical storm force winds and hurricane force winds to pick up as early as Tuesday night. So if you have property in the area, you need to make sure you have your arrangements. Now, if you have loved ones in the area, check in, make sure everyone has a plan in place, because again, that major category landfall expected early Wednesday morning. The storm will move off quickly to the north and east and weaken as it continues to interact with the Florida Panhandle. A Category 1 hurricane by Tuesday afternoon as it makes its way into parts of Georgia, expected to skirt up the Carolina coast, sitting off the coast of Charleston as a tropical storm. This is going to be a high impact storm through so much of the southeast before jetting off to the east and moving away from land as we head through Thursday into Friday a little bit later on this week. So ahead of the storm, we do have hurricane warnings and watches in effect down through parts of Mexico and the islands. Closer to Florida, we have tropical storm warnings and watches in effect for now. Those will be upgraded to hurricane watches and warnings. But the storm surge, a big concern as this storm makes landfall. Life-threatening, catastrophic storm surge expected. Parts of Crystal Spring, really areas you see shaded there in red, that's where a storm surge of 7 to 11 feet is expected. And keep in mind, the storm surge is that wall of water pushing onshore in addition to the tides. And this might change. This is based off of the current track. The track really is threatening everywhere along the Florida Gulf Coast as it stands right now. And we'll fine tune exactly where that storm is set to make landfall as we get a little bit closer to it throughout the day tomorrow. The farther away you get from the center of the storm, the lesser the storm surge. But you can see storm surge up to 6 feet expected all the way down into Marco Island and parts of the Florida Panhandle. We also have Hurricane Franklin on the map. Again, that's our first major hurricane of the Atlantic season once it got up to Category 3 strength. Earlier this morning, winds of 115 miles per hour, still moving off to the northwest very slowly. Expected to strengthen into a Category 4 hurricane either later this afternoon or early Tuesday morning, but not going to stay that strong for long. It'll kind of weaken itself out once it pulls in some cooler water as we look ahead toward the middle part of the week. This will kick up some higher surf for Bermuda, some larger waves over through the parts of the Carolina coast as well, and then eventually head off to the north and east out to sea, thankfully posing no threat to land. But we know a lot of folks are interested in Idalia, so we'll have updates every time we get an update from the National Hurricane Center.